Hey everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith. Thank you for joining me today. I apologize for being gone for so long, but I've been busy working on personal readings, content for the membership tier, work, and other personal projects I'm working on. But here I is today. So I conducted a poll in the community section asking you guys what you wanted me to discuss today. And out of the 5 options I provided, you guys said you wanted me to talk about Charleston White and Cam Newton and also toxic single Black mothers. Well, toxic mothers in general. This is my second time recording this. The first time I recorded it, I started coughing and choking uncontrollably, which to me is a sign that I needed to be careful with what I've been saying. And, I'm a very direct speaker. I kind of can be a bit harsh with my words sometimes, and I don't do it intentionally, but I just try to get my point across as effectively as possible. So the first topic I'm going to discuss is Charleston White and Cam Newton. First of all, Charleston White needs to be careful because a few days ago, I saw him getting jumped on stage while doing his comedy show. And I think that he's pushing his luck because a lot of Black men don't like him since he's exposing them or calling them out for being lying, abusive terrorists in the community. In my opinion, a lot of Black men don't like Charleston White because he doesn't disrespect Black women enough for them. So now he has a lot of enemies. I have watched a few clips of Charleston White over the past couple years, and in general, I agree with what he says. He's also a very funny person. Charleston is intelligent, and he occasionally says ignorant stuff to get a rise out of people. But just like with the rapper Kaya, I can sift through the nonsense to appreciate the essence of what he's trying to say. The podcast with Cam Newton and Charleston White lasted for about 3 hours, and I'm not going to recap the whole thing, but at one point, Charleston called out the Black community for being hypocrites because we have a problem with the way that he addresses the issues in our community. At the same time, we have a problem with what he's saying. We allow these rappers and entertainers to sing and rap about the most disgusting and degrading things about our people. And this is an issue that I complained about in the past when I used to review the Love Marriage Huntsville show. I stated that collectively, we have an issue listening with our feelings instead of our ears. So we let our feelings about someone dictate our ability to comprehend what they are saying or doing. Or we are more focused on how something is being said instead of what is actually being said. Or we allow other people to tell us how we feel about someone who we don't even know yet. And this is one of the reasons why I think we keep getting played by these politicians, these preachers, and these entertainers who are in the business of telling us BS to siphon our time, energy, and resources. We have forgotten what Malcolm X told us about the media over 60 years ago. He said that the media is the most powerful entity on the earth because it controls the minds of the masses. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. And we forgot this warning because we fell in love with the patriarchal system of capitalism to the extent that we don't want to divest from the system. We just want it to work for us. Okay, but capitalism does not work for the masses. It only works for the ownership class, entertainers, politicians, and religious grifters. We are now at the point where capitalism is being phased out by automation. The masses are being priced out of land ownership because the elites want to make sure that we're in perpetual debt so that we don't have the time to figure out how to break away from their control. The politicians that we vote for are just here to maintain the status quo, and the ones who don't follow the script are maligned, dismissed, and attacked by the media. Entertainers are just here to sell us the dream of American capitalism, which is maintained not only at the expense of your community and your family, but also other parts of the world who have resources. Religion is used to sedate the masses with the idea that some God is going to save us by enacting justice against the wicked who are causing so much harm and destruction on this planet. If God is going to handle it, why do we have to, right? Especially when we don't really want to because we don't want to sacrifice our American comforts. It is dangerous and self-destructive for us as a Black community to avoid the truth. And I don't trust people who use identity politics or political affiliation to browbeat the collective into a stupor of uncritical groupthink. If you don't vote for A, then you're racist. You're not Black. you hate women. The people who are supposed to be the most educated among us are telling us the most lies because they're here to maintain the system and not to reform it. You can only reform something after you honestly identify what the problems are. We have a lot of problems in our community that have been engineered by social scientists and capitalists. And even though we can identify who or what is responsible for the mess and the chaos in the Black community, that does not mean that we are not responsible for cleaning up the mess, because we're the only ones who can change things. Some people hate Charleston White more than they hate the agents of chaos who are profiting off of selling death and dysfunction to our children. They gaslight us by saying that it's just music, it's just entertainment, I'm just keeping it real. But they don't dare talk about other races of people the way they talk about Black people. And that's a sign of cowardice, okay? And we know we have a lot of cowards in our community because we are afraid of the truth. We can't even face the truth about ourselves, which is why these problems will prevail, okay? It's ironic that so many men have hatred for Charleston White when they call themselves the gender of accountability. But they get triggered when another man calls out how Black men are responsible for a lot of the dysfunction in the community. Not all, but a lot of it. If you are the kings of accountability, it should be second nature for you to understand the role you play in situations that you're complaining about. For example, the passport bros. The passport bros say that they don't marry Black women because Black women are too loud, overweight, promiscuous, angry, masculine, combative, and money hungry. So they go out of the country to not find wives, but to trick off on prostitutes, in a sense, at discount prices. Instead of admitting that they have resentment towards Black women for having some level of self-determination, because we, go to school and we get jobs and we can pay our own bills so we don't have to sell our bodies to dusty gremlins for provision and protection, they're going to gaslight you and say that it is your fault that I'm leaving the country because these women are better than you. That's in essence what they're saying. They're not better than you because we're looking for wives. They're better than you because they need us. And because they need us, they are more likely to put up with our abuse and disrespect and cheating. That is what they would be saying if they were the gender of accountability. This is an example of, Black men not telling the truth. So yes, I agree with Charleston White. He is correct. We cannot complain about his delivery because we do a lot worse than what he says. Just because you don't want to hear the truth doesn't mean that the truth does not exist and people will play boo-boo the fool with you. The age of Pisces is over. Beliefs have to be replaced with truth and facts. So your feelings are irrelevant in the situation. If you don't like the way someone is calling out your behavior, stop doing the behavior. They have the right to say whatever they want to say, just like you have the right to do whatever you want to do. And this is why I supported Kaya when she roasted Sexy Red for acting like a degenerate prostitute. I have no problems with people calling out bad behavior. If you don't want to be called out for your bad behavior, then don't participate in it. Don't do it. It's as simple as that. So this brings me to my second topic, toxic Black mothers or toxic mothers in general. I was unpleasantly surprised by how many Black women or women in general have dysfunctional relationships with their mothers. But I should not be surprised because out of the hundreds of readings that I've done, personal readings that I've done, most of my clients have issues with their moon. They have moons in detriment, moons aspected by Pluto, Saturn, Mars, or the nodes, which usually indicate some sort of generational trauma that causes an emotional or physical conflict between the mother and her children. I'm going to focus on the mother-daughter dynamic today instead of the mother-son dynamic, but I will say that I have seen mothers defend their teenage son's terrible behavior by referring to them as babies while they treat their daughters as if she's grown as soon as she hits puberty. Just because a girl can get pregnant and just because your man wants your daughter doesn't mean that she has a mind of an adult and she can make adult decisions. Just because she knows what she's doing as far as cognitively doesn't mean that she understands what she's doing. Understanding usually comes from wisdom and experience. And without proper guidance from your parents or your community, experience can come with some hard knocks that teach you painful lessons. So in patriarchal cultures, the man is put on a pedestal. A woman's value is determined by how sexually accessible and attractive she is to men in a patriarchy. The Abrahamic religions have brainwashed people into believing that God is a male, and as a result, each man is akin to God, while the woman is nothing more than a helpmate and a breeder to be discarded once she gets too old. Women have been socialized to see other women as competition for their Prince Charming or their knight in shining armor or their happily ever after. Black women who deify men, who worship men, and who feel validated by men are more likely to be jealous of other women, including their own daughters. I remember Derek Jackson's ex-wife, Denia Jackson, truthfully admitting that she was low-key jealous of her daughter, one of her daughters, because Derek was cheating with women who were darker complected like her daughter. This is the same woman who felt like she won because Derek Jackson asked her to marry him after openly cheating on her for several years. She didn't care about that. All she cared about was the fact that she got the ring, and so all was forgiven. This is something that I discussed before. Toxic pick-me women will ignore all of the disrespect and the abuse that's been inflicted on them as soon as they get an engagement ring, because that puts them above the other women who are not chosen to be wives. This is why a lot of wives put up with cheating until the side piece gets pregnant, because now the side piece and the wife are kind of sort of on the same level, and it's more about ego than anything else. And men know this, which is why they push and push and push and disrespect and disrespect and disrespect until the woman breaks from mental exhaustion or an emotional breakdown. So a lot of toxic mothers only feel good about themselves when they have a man, okay? And when they don't have a man, more than likely she feels lost, empty, and confused. And if this toxic woman has young daughters, she will see them as competition because she knows that there's a strong possibility that at some point the men she's attracted to will possibly be attracted to her daughter, and they may use her to gain access to her daughter. And how do women know this? Well, the same thing happened to them as little girls. They were molested by their relatives, their mama's boyfriends, or even their stepfathers. And more than likely, when they were molested and abused, they were blamed for it by their mothers who also experienced the same abuse. It's a part of the generational curse. The men are deified and they're allowed to do whatever they want to do with no repercussions, while the girls have to bear the burden of having their innocence stolen by these same men. A few days ago, I saw an interview on Black TV with the rapper Scarlett, I think her name is. And she said that after her mother died unexpectedly, she went to go live with her aunt, who let her husband or her boyfriend, I think, drug her and assault her when she was 12 years old. A lot of these pick-me women will allow their daughters or their nieces or their cousins to be molested by their boyfriends or their husbands because their sole purpose in life is to make sure that their man is happy. They're here to protect the man's happiness, because in the pick-me's mind, in the toxic woman's mind, if she gives her man what he wants, then he'll be happy with her, which makes her more valuable to him. A few weeks ago, when I discussed Shirley's strawberry situation, I said that many toxic pick-me women don't like to see men suffer. They feel like they have to protect the man from suffering the consequences of his actions, even if it destroys the woman. They will protect the man's right to take her child's innocence before they protect their daughter's innocence. If you guys remember when Shirley was talking to Ernesto on the phone, she picked her husband's side over her daughter's side and accused her daughter of being jealous of her or betraying her. She had no smoke for Ernesto. And so these women will protect the man's right to take her child's innocence before they protect her daughter's innocence. Because for some of these women, losing a man is like dying. After all of the stress and the drama that Ernesto put Shirley through, when she spoke to him on the phone, she was more so concerned about him leaving her than if he had committed the crimes that he was being accused of. So losing a man for these pick-me women is like dying. It doesn't matter if the man is trash. He's her trash. And she knows that other pick-me women don't mind being the cleanup woman. So she'll hold on to her trash so that other women can't claim what she thinks belongs to her. The toxic mother, pick-me woman, doesn't want another woman to dethrone her as the queen of her trash man's life. And that includes her daughters. You know, this is why I don't think that it's safe for single mothers who have young daughters, especially, to date, because you never know if your man is a predator who is grooming your daughter to be your replacement. I have read so many stories of stepfathers grooming their stepdaughters under the guise of creating a father-daughter bond. And these young girls are very confused because here you have an older man who is attentive, respectful, gentle, he's providing stability, he's affectionate, but he's not her biological father. So if he gets inappropriate with her at 14, 15 years old, how would she be able to know the difference between paternal love and molestation? I remember watching a video on World Star a few years ago where a young teenage girl was secretly recording her mother's boyfriend trying to groom her. He started volunteering to drive her to work. And in the video, he grabbed the girl's hand in a car and acted like they were in some sort of relationship. And then he offered to spend money on her. The girl's mother then called her boyfriend's phone, and she didn't ask about her daughter. She spoke to him and asked him how can he afford to take her daughter to get something to eat, but can't even afford to give her gas money. And in that call, she sounded more jealous and suspicious of her daughter than she was concerned for her daughter. And she sounded like she kind of knew what was going on, or she was suspicious of what was going on, but she was too desperate to confront her boyfriend because she didn't want to lose him. And in the video, you can see the young girl, she was nervous. She was trembling in the video. And fortunately, the man was arrested after the video was posted online. So there are some toxic women who will neglect their daughters on purpose so that they're looked at with shame and pity and disrespect instead of admiration. Because honestly, admiration from the opposite sex is not only dangerous for young girls, potentially, but it takes attention away from the toxic mothers. If you guys remember on Love and Marriage DC, Ashley said that her mother moved in with her man when she was 16 years old. She completely gave up on being a mother to shack up with a man who more than likely did not want to deal with her kids. He wanted her all to himself. And because the man is the king and the god, okay, Ashley's mother neglected her vulnerable children to go take care of her grown man. Because in codependent relationships, which toxic women tend to have with these men, one person convinces themselves that if their partner is happy, they're happy too. They're happy with their partner, not for their partner. So your happiness is my happiness. And if you're not happy because you're in jail like Ernest Williams, I'm not going to be happy until I can get you home safely, even if you belong in jail. If you're not happy because your wife won't satisfy you, then I'm not happy until I can satisfy you as your side piece. In the end, the toxic women always give the men what they want because for them, the man is God. And so what does that make the woman? The woman is the person who should be grateful that God is in her presence. She should be grateful to have the privilege to serve God, who's a good man, even if he's a cheater and a dog and a player. She should feel grateful and honored to have the privilege to serve God as his side piece, or his caretaker, or his sugar mama, right? So anyone who takes the salvation of her God away from her is her mortal enemy, including her daughters. This is why a lot of toxic mothers choose their man over the well-being of their children. If their man makes them upset, she'll take it out on the kids. If her man is treating her okay that day, then she'll smile and laugh with her kids. I mean, now you can see why a lot of these toxic mothers are jealous of their daughters, because their daughters have the potential to make her man happy in ways she cannot, which means that her predator man will value her young daughter more than he values her. Now the source of her validation is pulling away from her for another female, even if it's her child. And she's triggered because, as I mentioned earlier, she has been conditioned to feel lost, lonely, and worthless without a man. So how do toxic mothers raise their sons? Well, a lot of these toxic women, not all, but a lot of them, they raise their sons to be players. They raise their sons to ravage women the way that they have been ravaged. A couple years ago, I discussed an IG post where a woman was bragging about raising her sons, her two boys, to be dogs and players because she didn't want them to get played. A lot of toxic black mothers raise their sons to destroy young women because they see women as competition for the cesspool of men that she wants to date. She wants her sons to make women cry the way she's cried over men. And I suspect that Diddy has a similar dynamic with his mother. I'm not saying this for sure, but the fact that Diddy has disrespected and abused every single woman that he's been with, and yet I haven't seen or heard his mother having any protestations about his behavior. To me, it is an indicator that she raised him to despise or resent other women. So a lot of times the toxic mother wants her sons to make women cry the way she's cried over men. She also wants to hoard the love and affection of her male sons for herself. She doesn't want her male godchild to give his divine male love to anyone but her. So she's training her sons to be loyal to her the way she wishes her man was loyal to her. I'm not saying that a woman should not want love from her children. I'm saying that a mother should not weaponize her children against the village because she's jealous of the young princesses who will be competing for the same man that she wants. Toxic mothers don't feel the same way about their daughters. No matter how much love, affection, and self-determination their daughters show their mothers, she will always be triggered by the fact that her daughter is seen as her replacement as soon as she's born. In many cases, a 50-year-old man would prefer to date a 20-year-old woman or 25-year-old woman over her 50-year-old mother. It's not always the case, but it happens a lot. Some men target older women to get access to their very young daughters. And even if they don't touch the daughters, they want to be around them to fantasize about abusing them or molesting them while the mom is at work. I don't know if you guys remember Courtney Stodden. She was a reality TV star who was 17 years old when she got married to actor Doug Hutchinson when he was 51. Okay. She got divorced from him a couple years ago after 10 years of marriage because she said that he groomed her, and her mother was okay with the grooming process because her mother would sometimes use her as bait for men. Okay. So to be honest, when I watched Courtney years and years ago, she irritated the hell out of me because, even though I know she was 16, 17 years old, she would say things like, you guys are just jealous of me. I know that's what her old boyfriend told her to say, but you guys are just jealous of me. You're mad because you're older and so on and so forth, something like that. And a lot of younger women believe that all older women are envious of them, which may or may not be true. But a good indicator of whether or not a woman is jealous of a young girl is the man himself. If a man is not that attractive and he doesn't have that much money and he, doesn't have much to offer, if a woman tells you to stay away from him, more than likely, she doesn't want him for herself. More than likely, she's giving you good advice. So Courtney was kind of like playing into the idea of older, bitter women hating on this young girl finding love. And now at 27 years old, she has more understanding, and she realized that she was being groomed by her husband, her ex-husband. And on top of that, while they were getting a divorce, he was trying to talk to a 15-year-old girl. And so at that point, Courtney started and realized that like most men, her husband was not interested in her as a woman. He was interested in her as a young sex doll. Okay. So this is why a lot of older men prefer young girls who have the knowledge to give consent for sex, but they don't understand the long-term physical, emotional, and psychological ramifications of getting involved with an older man who is exploiting them for sex. Now, with that said, in order to quell the tide of toxic mothers, we have to go back to the matriarchy, where the needs of children are centered over the needs of men. Okay? I'm not saying that in a matriarchy, a woman doesn't take care of herself, but she takes care of herself so that she can be a better parent and guardian for her children. Okay? In a matriarchy, the lazy, unproductive men are denied access to sex and the resources of the community. The women come together to nurture, protect, and educate all the babies in the village, and not just your sons. Women need to get back to loving themselves so that they can have the capacity to love their children. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Give yourself permission to heal. Pamper yourself. Spend time alone in peace and solitude to replenish your body and your soul. For some women, that may take weeks. For some, it may take months. For some, it may take years. And for some, it may take several lifetimes, because we have experienced trauma at the hands of men for many generations, for hundreds of years. And so this energy is imprinted on our souls. Do not rush the process of healing. Don't feel pressured to get married or have a baby until you feel comfortable with yourself as a human being and as a woman. And the process of healing is important because it keeps you grounded. So no matter what these men do, for better or worse, you know who you are, and you love yourself regardless of whether or not you have a man in your life. I do find it fascinating how so many women say that they don't care about men and men ain't shit, but they do things to their bodies to attract the attention of men. And they hate on or try to imitate women who they see as competition for men. So which one is it? Are these men not shit, or are you just saying that because you can't get one, right? I'm not saying that all women who are saying that can't get a man, because I say some men are trash and I don't have an issue getting a man. But a lot of women, they contradict themselves by saying that, well, I don't care about men. Men are dogs, men are garbage. But then you turn around and hate on other women who can attract the men that you want. We can't do it that way. We have to treat all women as our sisters, as our mothers, right? As our daughters. We can't see them as competition. If you see women as competition, then you're giving men more value. And I'm not saying that it's wrong to want companionship in marriage. I'm not saying that at all. There are some wonderful men who know how to treat women. But a lot of toxic women, they end up sabotaging their relationships because of their deep insecurities. And so those deep insecurities may manifest in many different ways. It can manifest as arguing, combativeness, not taking care of your physical health or your appearance. Many things happen. You know, on a final note, I really wish that we would stop calling whatever we have going in our community a matriarchy. It is not a matriarchy. It is a trans patriarchy. It is a patriarchy in a dress, okay? You have women in positions of power in this system of capitalism who do not have any regard for children, who don't care about kids at all. They're just here to serve their own ego or to serve a man. So in a matriarchy, the children come first. Their education, their safety, their culture, their health and well-being, all of those things comes first in a matriarchy. The woman nurtures and takes care of herself so that she can take care of her children better, not take care of another man better. In some, animal kingdoms, the men are disposed of after they have sex with the female because they have no other purpose, right? We have to get back to the point where the men serve a particular purpose, and their purpose is to protect that which the matriarchy has built. It is up to Black women, in my opinion, to rebuild our community. The men don't have the capacity to do it. At best, they can serve as sentinels or security guards to protect the community. But if they're not doing that, there's no reason for them to be there. A couple years ago, I watched a documentary about bees, and the female bees dispose of the male drones during the winter months because the male drones do not do anything around the hive except mate, and mating season's over. And so the male drones are disposed of because, there isn't enough food to go around. And the hive is focused on making sure there's enough food for the larvae, the babies that are in the nest, not for the men who are drones. And so the drones are kicked out of the hive to make sure there's enough food for the female worker bees, the queen bee, and the babies, not the males, unfortunately. And so even the male larvae, they are disposed of also to an extent because the male bees, the drones, they don't do anything at all. They don't take care of the babies. They don't forage for food. They don't help out around the nest. They don't really do anything. And that's the way nature made it. So instead of saying, I'm going to make this useless drone the king of this particular colony, I'm going to throw him out. What a lot of Black women have done is we have made the useless drone the king of our colony, the king of our community. The men who have nothing to offer besides penis and drama, we are fighting over him instead of fighting for the safety and security and the protection and provision of our children, which is why our children have resentment towards us also, because we are putting them in harm's way when we fail to protect them from the useless drones that have nothing better to do than prey on little girls. And so, yes, even though it's not the bees' fault that they're drones, it is what it is. Bees, they don't really have much of a choice in that situation. They don't have a complex society or an economy like human beings do. Even though it's not the drone's fault that they're the way they are, that does not save them from being disposed of because they're jeopardizing the future of the colony because they don't do anything. So I think a lot of women should adopt the same attitude. If a man is not doing anything in your life, he's not adding to your life, you should get rid of him. I'm not saying kill him. I'm saying that he should not live in your home. I'm saying that he should not be submitted to. I'm saying that he should not be provided for. I'm saying that he should not have access to your body or your sex. That's what I am saying. Now, if you are married to a man who's a stay-at-home father, he's playing a role. He's taking care of the babies. He's cooking, he's cleaning. That's different. But if he's doing nothing, you have to treat him like a drone and kick him out the nest in order to protect the colony or your family or your community. Toxic mothers don't understand what the concept of a drone is, of a useless man is. They don't think any man is useless. They think all men serve a purpose, and the purpose is to make her feel better about herself. Okay? And these same women see their daughters as their automatic replacement because, to be honest, that is the case. When you are giving birth to your child, that child is supposed to be your replacement. It's the replacement generation. If you don't regenerate by having children, then your civilization will collapse. So that is kind of sort of technically true. And the main reason why these toxic mothers are competing with their daughters for the same scraps of men is because these men have deliberately and intentionally denied women protection, provision, commitment, and security. They're waiting for the current generation to age out so they can prey on the babies and the next generation. That is what they're doing intentionally. They will play around for 20 and 30 years until they're in their 40s and then jump on a young, naive, teenager who doesn't know any better because she doesn't have any life experience. She has knowledge, but she doesn't have understanding, okay? And that is why a dumb girl is an aphrodisiac for many men, because they don't have to work hard to prove themselves. They'd rather be drones instead of responsible leaders. All right, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.